All right, good morning, everyone, and welcome to another edition of CBMC Fresno Live. This is our opportunity to continue to reach out and just let people know what we're doing here at CBMC Fresno here in the Central Valley, and just sharing some thoughts, sharing some different topics throughout this summer. And we're looking forward to coming back to you even throughout the year as well, as we open up and get back to our live meetings as well. My name is Steve Hosey. I am a board member here at CBMC Fresno, and I am very excited today to have a couple of guests who are doing great things in our community. As you can see here on the screen, we have Noel and Shauna Felix. Good morning, Noel, and good morning, Shauna. How are you guys doing today?
Blessed.
Yeah, doing very well.
Great. Well, it's good to hear. It's good to see the smiling faces, and good to see that gear. And we're going to get a little bit into that and talk about the give culture and the concept and everything behind that. But before we do, I'd like to just take a second to let our audience know a little bit more about yourself. So we're going to start with Shauna. Can you talk to us just a little bit, give us a little snapshot of how you came to know Christ as we move through this conversation, and then we'll give Noel an opportunity as well.
Yeah, so I mean, I was invited to the flagpole prayer meeting in high school at 6:30 in the morning, and really I showed up because my friends were there. So that was about the extent of my understanding of God, was that I had a small group of people. Well, my cousin and her friends actually would meet there, and so I believed in God, but I never understood the depth and relationship of God until I was about 24, and I started reconnecting with this guy, and I would go visit him, and he would play, this is what I always say, like, he would play music, he would play gospel music, and I would just get emotional, and I'm like, why am I crying? Like, why am I crying? So it was that the spirit, started there and started then in music with him. And then, life happened a lot, and he referred to the Lord a lot. And then, as we grew in our relationship, we weren't able to go to church together because we were always apart. And so we would tune into things online as best we could in the beginning. There wasn't a whole lot of stuff then like there is now, but as best we could, we would just seek out, even our church would make CDs and DVDs, and we would watch them.
Mm-hmm.
So I really came to know God as closely as I do now, thanks to my relationship, which I got to give Noel the credit. I had very minimal, limited experience with believers in high school. It was a little dabble, enough to know that I believed in God. But never really understood the lifestyle or the walk,
Mm-hmm.
So that was
Wow, that's pretty powerful right there. So, wow, how you feel about that, Noel?
I think it's awesome. I do remember all those phases and playing music. Even when in college, I used to always play gospel music, and it was just something I always liked to do. Like when I traveled, even in college, like I would have my CD player, which is crazy. But I had my CD player, my headphones, I had all kind of CDs and my CD case. And so I always played gospel music, and it's literally like that. Like it just grew. And she was like, why am I crying? I was like, the spirit working in you, it's all good. It was pretty cool. It was in Seattle, actually. I was playing with the Seattle Sonics, and she flew to visit me. And it was a particular song called When My Heart Is Overwhelmed, Lead Me to the Rock. And that song was very powerful for her.
Oh, that's awesome testimony. So how about you, Noel? What was it like when you first came to the Lord? Tell us a little bit about how you became a follower.
Well, I was 9 years old when I gave my life to the Lord. It was 1990, and one of my buddies, his name is John Scott. He's a really good friend of mine. I haven't talked to him in over 20 years, but when he used to go to church, and I was invited to go to church with him, and it was something that in LA, it kept me out the streets. So once I got hooked on going to church, and I gave my life to the Lord at that age, my brother gave his life to the Lord at the same time, and the rest was history there. But God has shown me so many full circles from that time, because I immediately joined the choir can't sing, but I joined the choir, and I became an usher at our church. And I also immediately got involved. And then my first retreat was to Fresno in 1990. And we went to the convention center downtown Fresno at the Holiday Inn. And it was a church convention, and it was a huge choir convention. And it was after that, I was just so blown away. But again, the full circle, I had no idea I was coming to Fresno State, any of those things. I was 9. And it was right after Christmas where I came out here and I was able to see Fresno. I even went to the Manchester Mall and rode on the horses. And now you're doing the carousel thing, the little in the mall. But that's where I gave my life to the Lord. And ever since then, I've just I've always had a relationship with him. So that's how it started for me.
Yeah, no, that's good. We all have our journey, like, when we come to the Lord, and it's weird because we remember those things, and I know specifically when I give my testimony, when I tell people, it's like kind of my get off the fence moment, and where I was, what I was doing. I mean, everything, I remember all of that. So I definitely resonate a little bit about that. So tell us just a little bit, moving forward just a bit, tell us about, for those who do not know, the sports that you guys were involved in when you were at Fresno State, and then we'll go ahead, Shauna, give us a little bit of background of your sports history at Fresno State.
Volleyball all day. Volleyball, yes, that was my sport, and it's a beautiful thing. I played volleyball when I was young with my dad on the beach, and then I just had a coach tell me, you can play D1 in 9th grade when I was just kind of starting to take it serious. He said, you can play D1 if you wanted to. And I was like, what's D1? It wasn't like, my goal wasn't to go to college. I just knew I loved the sport. And then I just happened to be, I don't know, blessed, and I'm good at it and tall and all that good stuff. So I actually got invited to start coaching out at the sand courts in Madera for Triumph Volleyball Academy last year. And so after college, I didn't get to play. I just supported him, and he traveled the world. And so volleyball was kind of absent from my life all the way until last summer. So it's been so fun for me. Like, I even get a little emotional out there. I'm like, look at it, the sport came back to me, So it's a beautiful thing. I love volleyball.
Yeah, no, and God is good like that, isn't he? He honors those things. He knows the desires of our heart, and he never forgets about that, even when we have to put him on the shelf for a while. And then it's like he just unwraps a little present for us again and says, "Hey, I know what you love there. Let me give you another taste of that, right?" And that's a beautiful thing. No, that's awesome. And how about you, Noel? I think we might know, but go ahead, just for those who don't know.
Yeah, well, it was
tennis.
Yeah. Well, I started playing basketball when I was 6, a little bit here and there. And then when I turned 9, I started to get more serious into it. And that was really it. I played basketball pretty much my whole life. I never played another sport. And I mentioned it to Shauna yesterday that if I could play another sport, I probably would have ran track or something. However, basketball was it. And it got me to Fresno State. I was fortunate to play for Jerry Tarkanian for 3 years out of my 4 here. And we were able to do some special things. I mean, actually, Shauna found my WAC championship ring from 2003 in the garage. Wow. And I haven't seen that thing in over a decade. I was like, oh, I'll wear it all day. I was all excited about my ring. But yeah, I won 2 rings at Fresno State in my tenure there as a collegiate athlete. And I was very blessed to play with a lot of good players. And we had a great team in the Southern Arena. It was a great experience. And I actually played the last college game there ever. And we won a full overtime game against Nevada Wolfpack to seal the WAC conference my senior year. So that's where I was. Put all my time and effort into that, and was rewarded for it. On top of having an awesome wife for it, coming to Fresno. So it was a great experience, and I established a lot of good relationships too.
No, that's awesome, and I remember those days, that era with Tarkanian as the coach, and the excitement that it brought around the basketball program at that time. It was really, really cool to watch that era, see the great things you guys were able to do and accomplish, and winning those league titles. So that was awesome, man. So I was blessed to get to witness some of that as well. So cool deal. So let's keep this thing moving a little bit. like I talked to you a little bit before in the pregame, before we turned on the recording here, one of my original thoughts for having this particular program today and topic was to talk to a husband and wife couple that not only does life together, but also does work together, right? And what is that dynamic like? How do you balance that? And give it to me, in a perspective, just your perspective. What does that look like to you? How do you navigate, seeing them at home all day? You have to be, husband and wife and parents, and now in the work environment and working together. How does that all work for you guys? And I'll let whoever wants to share first talk about it. Give you your take.
Well, I'll gladly go first. One of the things that that's fresh on my mind about that whole process, because it's an ongoing process. It's really a teamwork. It's a teamwork mentality, especially coming off being in our shelter in place season. When
Yes.
I tried to get busy in work, and I work in the school district. So I started in August, and I was active when there were no students on campus. However, my wife had to try to run our business and be a teacher at home. And so one of the things I learned really quickly was being able to have that balance of when I'm home, I try to take on the kids. I let her focus on the business. If not for that, at the very least, just her mental state, because unfortunately, I got to see a lot of parents that kind of dropped the ball when it came time to really focus on the kids having to be at home and get educated, as opposed to just sending them to school. And so we have 5 kids. However, we really have to dial in on the education with them and make sure that they have everything they need, because it's a mental thing for them too, not being able to go to class. Now you have to set up your classroom in the corner in the dining room, And so Shauna having to navigate that all day. And then by the time I get home, she was fried. And so we had to find that balance. And that's just from 2020 alone. But I would say that it's just teamwork, communication, picking up the slack, like she mentioned the other day, thank you for doing the dishes. And I was like, well, thank you for cleaning the garage, we just always, we're always moving and always doing something,
Yeah, and that's kind of what he led me perfectly into what I was going to say, which is just like an attitude of service, I try my best to make sure that he gets sent off to work every day with everything he needs as best I can. Well, pre-COVID, I used to make lunch and everything. And then COVID happened, and, I was like, you're on your own. But no, I got to cook all day for these kids. No, but so it's just an attitude of service. So he intentionally would come home even after a long day, and his job is pretty emotionally taxing. So he was able to just switch his mind into coming into the house and taking care of the kids for me so that I could focus. And so then I would look forward to that part of the day for him to come home. So then I would make arrangements to try to do certain things at a certain time of day when he would come home so that I could focus on other things. And so I think just he's very intentional about making sure that he's present and active and helpful. Whereas I feel like I know a lot of people whose husbands are, this is work and I work and I come home and, that's it.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's kind of like my job ends there. So your job still continues in the house.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Once you come in, you just switch hats, and the same for me. I'd just be in mom mode all day. And then I would book my calls for the later part of the day when he'd be home. And then I just put on the work hat, and do my best. So it's like he said, it's teamwork and service, and really an attitude of service is sometimes hard to maintain because we just want to watch our show and be left alone. But when you have a kid and a partner, it's just you always have to be kind of on your toes and how can I serve? How can I help? What can I do? And then, once everything's good, we get to rest together. So yeah,
that sounds like a lot. I mean, and I know it's a lot. I've kind of been through a little bit of that. I only got 2 kids and a grandson, but 5, that's another level right there. But I will say this, and I'm going to be a little biased right now because I think we've walked a lot of the same footsteps over the years, being in sports and having family. And 2 of the things that you mentioned, teamwork and there was teamwork you mentioned, and communication. And so being involved in ministries for a long time in my church, those were a couple of things, a couple of specific topics that my wife and I used to talk about with couples. And because you have that sports background, you see that teamwork, I believe, a little bit different than the next person. I really do. I mean, I know I do. I know how important it is to the success of where you're trying to get, whether that's your teammates or whether that's your family. You still have to have that teamwork. You still need to be able to work together. You know, it's like coach coming to you and say, hey, you know, I need you to play left field today. And instead of saying, well, coach, I don't know how to play left field, I'm usually playing center, you just go, okay, coach, what do you need? And let's get this done, right? You know, same thing with you, Noel. Coach says, hey, I need you to guard the 2 guard today. And you're like, oh, okay, all right, I'll do what I got to do, you know. And that's that perspective I believe we have as athletes, to know how important that is to success. And in what you're doing, the success of your family is everything, right? That's where it's at. The success of your kids, your family, your relationship with one another, and honoring God through all of that. So that's super awesome to hear that, and that it's a testimony, and it's work. It's a testimony, and it's work, and it's good to see that you guys get that. You really, you know, you grasp that concept. So let's move on now. Now I want to give you guys an opportunity. I got my gear here. I'm gonna put my gear on here. So I got this one. This is the Hope hat here. And just a little background on why I chose the Hope one is that on my business card, I have my real estate business, H&P Properties, and on the back of it, I have Hope and Peace. And so I was looking for one. I wish they had both on there. I would have been like, oh yeah. So the next hat I buy, of course, will have peace on it. But give our listeners and our people who are involved with CBMC an opportunity to learn exactly what is give culture. I want you to take the rest of our time to explain that and tell us what you're doing with that.
Well, I'm gonna let Shauna start, but I want to tell you, we talked about an awesome acronym for the word hope, and it's help other people every day. So that's something that I want you to know. And that hat is a very cool hat. Give Hope is one of our, it's like one of our top hats, top words, because you know it's something that we always need and we can always give other people. So help other people every day is the acronym behind Hope.
Nice.
We've had someone say, like, you can have hope, but how can you give hope? And then it was like, well, by helping other people every day. And so that's how they get to see, you know, you. And so, but give culture is so much more than a t-shirt and a hat. It's a lifestyle of social consciousness and really being mindful of how your actions and your attitude affect other people. So each one of our garments says the word give on it, followed by a different positive action word. So we all have different shirts on today. His is kindness, mine says give compassion, and yours is give hope. And the idea is to put it on and intentionally lead with that virtue and be mindful in every encounter throughout the day of how you impact or affect someone else, whether you know them for 20 seconds at 7-Eleven coffee station or, you know, 20 years of relationship. It's really important to be mindful of how you make other people feel. And so the I in give is lowercase. Can you guess why?
Yes, because we need to make God a lot bigger than ourselves.
Yes. We put, and like God would require of us, we love others, we love our neighbor as we love ourselves. So we put other people's needs before our own. And so it's very intentional. And teamwork is one of our mission focus, and to build team, you know, and the concept of team. Like, we don't have to look the same or believe the same things or vote the same way to still be on the same team, and agree that we all have the right to be treated well and loved and lifted up, regardless of what we believe.
You're speaking to the times right now, Shauna. Are you speaking? Go ahead. I wish we had a little bit more of that. That's what we need people to really understand in this day and age, right? We're on the same team, no matter what the things that we believe differently or not. We have to, and I think as believers, we have to be the tip of the sword with that, right? You know, I had pastors on a few months ago with Pastor Franklin, Pastor Binion, and my man Eli, right? And just talking about their relationship and how they can be the leaders of unity. This is what unity looks like. Here's how we walk it out. Here's how we live it. And so what you're saying, I'm really resonating right now. So I'm sorry to cut you off right there, but you got me excited there.
It's so good, and you're getting everything that exists in this brand, and that is unity, community, teamwork, commonality. Like, so there's a couple of strategies that have been built into the brand. So the give is really big intentionally, so that from across the room you can see if someone has a give shirt on. But the virtue, the positive action word is small, so that you have to get closer to that person in order to figure out what the personal commitment is. And you instantly have something in common, regardless of your life, you know, your culture, or your background, or your lifestyle. You instantly can agree on give culture, which is just a lifestyle of social consciousness and really being aware. And so we're trying to build commonality. We're trying to bridge some of those gaps that, you know, judgment and assumption have created, and all these cultural divides we're just becoming more and more divided. And so give culture is truly created to unite us on purpose, even though we're not all the same. And here's a fun fact for you that I think you'll like. The Bible says the word love 714 times, according to Rick Warren. And the Bible says the word give 2,152 times.
All right.
So to truly honor God is to offer yourself to someone else. And to give does not always mean money. You can give hope, you can give peace, you can give compassion, you can give encouragement, which is our other bestseller, encouragement. So, you know, a high five can go a long way for someone who's feeling down. So, you know, it's a big, big deal. And we feel like God put us back in Fresno and Clovis for a reason, and that our true home and community of home bulldog life is here, and that ultimately, so we like to say that we act locally, but we think globally. So we're hoping to impact the world with this brand someday.
Wow, that is awesome. And you know, everything you guys are saying to me is just you're honoring God. It's all about honoring God, being his people. And when people see you and they see what you're all about and what you're trying to do, you know, it's one of those things like, well, why are they doing this, right? Well, it's because we serve a God. We serve a God that's bigger than us. There you go. And you know, it's because we serve a God that's bigger than us, and that's just continuing this conversation to shine itself through right now. So I'm really appreciative of that.
You know, I want to give you a chance to chime in too, but really quick, it just made me think of this. Like, as a baby believer, when I was 24, coming out of the club life, I was not confident or bold enough to. So I was raised by hippies. Hopefully nobody in my family will see this, but they know it. Anyway, we didn't really talk about God or Jesus or any of that. And so then when I started learning about it, sometimes in my circle, I shouldn't even say my family, my circle, if I wanted to talk about God or Jesus, they'd be like, oh, here she goes with Jesus again, you know, like, oh, here she goes with that, you know, and then I would shut down. And so that boldness to like profess my love for Christ came over time. I didn't pray out loud. None of that. Like I was like a closet believer, you know, it just came over time. And so one of the things that I love about the brand is it kind of lets a person speak without having to speak, because that boldness, like God has to move in you and show himself, and you have to have time before that boldness comes. And so sometimes you just need something to speak for you so that you don't have to say a whole lot. And that's what give culture kind of does, even for baby believers. Like, you don't know how to talk to people about Jesus yet, but you know how to give kindness. You know, you don't know how to talk to people about Christ on the cross, which is tough sometimes to talk to people about, but you know how to talk about selflessness in action when you wear your give shirt. And so you can represent him in the meantime until that boldness comes, you know.
Amen to that. Absolutely. Well, I'll let you get the last words in here, Noel. You give us your take on give culture.
I love when try to share it, you know, because it's we can talk about it every day because it's our passion and it's an urgency in our community, but also in our nation and world to remind people of these little things. You know, the act of kindness goes a long way, and it's all about relationships. That's something that we tell our kids all the time. But one of the things I just think about to share from another angle from Shauna is just to look at how the generations, you know, how my mom raised me, how my mom was raised, how we're raising our kids. If we teach our kids how to give kindness, we can definitely put kids in society that can make our world a better place. I think that the way my mom raised me, I'm thankful that she, you know, worked as hard as she did for me to receive what I received. She gave me patience, she gave me grace, she gave me kindness, she gave me love every single day. A lot of parents, a lot of kids don't get to say that, but I know that someone in their lives gave them something from the fruits of the spirit. And I know I do that with kids at work that are in a group home or in situations that they don't have their parents in their lives. And I give them patience, I give them kindness, I give them grace every single day. And I think that if we can do that as a society and have a tool, because our shirts are just a tool to love people. You know, it's the golden rule, treat people how you want to be treated, and the fruits of the spirit tied together. And if we all can have people see that it's the actions followed by the words, then we can start turning the tide in how people treat each other and how we talk to each other too, because that's something that's lost, you know, disrespect and, you know, kids being angry, not even knowing why they're angry, but they're angry. And generation after generation, you know, I remember parents like looking at me when I was young, like, oh, well, back when I was raised, and now I can say the same thing to a younger kid. Back when my day,
Back then.
we had no idea.
Right.
Yeah.
But give culture is something that intertwines all generations because it's about treating people how you want to be treated first. And so that was the one thing that stuck out to me that just hearing Shauna share and have an opportunity to share in a way that let everybody know that it's yours. If you like you say, give hope, Steve, like that's yours. You choose to give hope and you have your why for that. We all have our whys and the why we choose to walk out our front doors, but to choose to see the good in people, you know, giving hope. I'm going to give hope first, you know, and the I being lowercase saying, I'm going to treat people how I want to be treated first is so important. So that's something that just stuck out to me that I wanted to share.
And can I say one more thing?
Sure
Yeah,
thing,
yeah.
go for it.
You just said seeing the best in other people. And I think
Mhm.
one of the like most toxic things in the world
Yeah,
is assumption.
Mm.
You see someone and you assume,
yeah,
you know, I'm from San Diego and it's a real artsy town. And so tattoos is a thing. I mean, you see someone covered in tattoos and you just assume, oh, they're fresh out of prison, you know, and it's like,
Yeah.
how can you assume that? And so then you see that same person in a give kindness shirt and it instantly changes the tone
mhm,
and hopefully causes you to rethink your assumptions and instead focus on now you know a little bit about that person's heart. Like instead of just seeing their body or the color of their skin, like I believe it's a blessing that my husband and I are a biracial couple because you know this is there's just such racial tension in the world and someone can look at a person and assume anything based on something that one, I didn't choose, and two, I can't change. I didn't choose this and I can't change it. How can you assume anything about me? You know, so that's why we wanted to create something. Like I said, there's strategy in this. So this is to create positive instincts towards one another, despite, you know, our outward appearance. You can't assume someone is spent 20 years in prison because they have a neck tattoo, but the world will, you know what I mean? And
Yeah.
so we really wanted something that would go, boop, oh, I know what that guy's about. Boop, oh, I know what she's about. What you wear says a whole lot about you. You know what I mean? And we try and teach these kids that all the time. Like what you wear says a whole lot. So why not make it positive? You know, keep it positive.
absolutely.
But the trick is you can't wear your give shirt and be a jerk.
There you go. Basic rules 101 right there. Hey, I'm gonna give you this hat and we're gonna give you this shirt, but you can't be a jerk while you're wearing this. So no,
the trick.
I love it. I love it. Well, you know, it sounds like everything the give culture is about and what you guys are doing is definitely inspired by your love for Christ, but also definitely well thought out in the strategy that you're trying to implement there and to get this message across. So I applaud you. I really love hearing what you had to say about this. I thank you guys so much for taking the time out this morning to join me here. I know the guys over at CBMC really love what you're doing. We look forward to having you next week as well. So all of you guys who are watching this now from our website, Noel and Shauna Felix will be joining us for lunch at Pardini's on July the 20th at noon.
Yes.
Hopefully they'll bring some gear there. Maybe we can do a little something with some gear and auction off a few things as well. So hopefully you guys can do that and bring some things over. So if you like what you see, come hungry, bring a little cash, bring your appetite and bring your ears, because they really have something to share with our community, something that I believe can be very impactful that we need for this day and age. So thank you guys again so much for being here. We appreciate it. Look forward to seeing you next week. And I'm Steve Hosey with CBMC Live Fresno, saying goodbye, and we will see you guys down the road. Thanks a lot. Bye-bye.
Bye. Thanks, Steve.